From the high desert southwest and an indiscreet shave den located in the deep recesses of Ouch's basement, broadcasting north from McMurdo Sound to Ice Station Zebra and east and west across all time zones to our members throughout the world, this is Badger and Blade Radio. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be on this big blue marble we call home, and welcome to the first anniversary edition of Badger and Blade Radio. First and foremost, we'd like to thank everyone for your support of B&B Radio over this last year. That includes, of course, the owners, the admins, the mods, the stewards, and most importantly, you, the member. We have a lot of great stuff planned for future episodes, and we've had a great amount of time doing this over the last year, and we certainly hope that you've enjoyed it. On tonight's show, we have news and events around badgerandblade.com, our ever-popular mail call section, and then our vendor spotlight interview with Ken from Paladin Shaving. A small programming note, we did have scheduled Ima Tabor, John Tabor, the forum steward for the safety razors, to interview tonight. However, we have moved that to May 15th, so please stay tuned for that. Now, if you've been following the video library forum, you know that we are running two separate PIFs for tonight's show, and the first one will be a movie PIF. That's right, we're going to send up to 4 people, your family, to the movies on B&B Radio. A thread will be opened up after this show on the video library forum, where all you have to do is say, "I'm in," and then we'll pick from a random amount of people in about a week to 2 weeks' time. We will announce the winners on the May 15th show. Now for the big one, we have an Easter egg hunt for you. So make sure you're watching this show very carefully, because we are going to be giving away 3, that's right, 3 10th anniversary Badger and Blade Essential Bore brushes. For those of you that collect the brushes, you know it's a fantastic brush. They were available on West Coast Shaving for a time, but we're going to give 3 lucky winners a chance to win those. Now, here's how that'll work. During the show, you will see a picture of this brush, as you can see right here, and it will appear for about 5 seconds. Then, once the show is over, we are going to open up a thread, and we're going to give you questions on where you saw it. This will include maybe what the subject was, the time stamp on when you saw the picture. Now, you can apply for all 3 brushes, but only 1 brush per winner. So, that's how it's going to work. When we get back, we'll introduce our special co-host and much, much more on this edition of the anniversary Badger and Blade Radio. We'll be right back. Hello, B&B Skyside here. Normally right now you'd be watching some vintage shave commercial or a cartoon that has to do with shaving. Unfortunately, these are very finite. There are only so many that we can show, and rather than get bored and show you the same ones over and over, I mean, how many times can you see a high karate commercial? We have come up with an idea that we'll be actually instituting in the next month or so, and these are vendor-approved commercials. These are commercials that were produced by B&B Radio and B&B Video Productions that have been approved by our vendors to show on our shows. This is a great way to give back to our vendor community. They will be sponsoring little show segments, and you never know, there might be a little special for you involved in those commercials. So keep an eye out over the next month or two as we start premiering the B&B Vendor Commercial Program. Welcome back to B&B Radio on our first anniversary special. Before we get our show started tonight, we'd like to introduce our mystery co-host. You on Badger and Blade Radio know her as Mrs. Claus. She was also our field reporter who was able to interview gothic horror movie people, and she's also one of our crack research team. Yes, that's right. It's Sharon. Hi, Sharon. How are you today?
Hi, Dave. Happy anniversary. Hi, everyone at Badger and Blade.
Well, thank you. We certainly appreciate it, and we could not do it without you because actually you're more popular on the show than I am.
Right.
This first anniversary, you've seen me do this for a year. What do you think about it?
I think it's great. It's a lot of fun. I loved participating in the different events like the Halloween show and Christmas show, and interviewing interviewed a person once, and it's a fun thing. It's nice to see that you're able to have fun with this. I know it takes you a lot of time to do a show, which is kind of nice for me because, guys, when he does a show, it takes him about 8 to 12 hours to reduce a show and edit it into a 30-minute production, I guess you would call it. And so that gives me 8 to 12 hours to go play.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm sure that's something they really wanted to know. Thanks a lot. But have you learned some things about Badger and Blade, when you've been hearing me do the multiple takes?
Yeah, well, I definitely have. And it's also gotten me more into the shaving thing. So I'm always happy to test out some of your new soaps and stuff. Shaving soaps.
Well, we appreciate you being here. So we're going to go ahead and start our news and events. The Gold Dollar Modification Contest will be starting today. Now, there's a little bit of a change this year because there will be 2 classes. For the first time ever, we're going to be having a first-time modders or novice class and an unlimited class. Now, the rules and breakdowns will be located in the restoration section of the Straight Razor forum. So please make sure you take a look there. It does start today. So take a look at this video because you're going to see a lot of great stuff from past shows. And as you see this video, aren't those amazing razors that people have created, Sharon?
Yeah, very unique. It's neat. It's nice to see all of the differences.
Well, what's amazing about it, too, is just the amount of artisan work that we have here from our members here on B&B. So once again, remember, it starts May 1st. Today, and you can get signed up. Once again, there will be a novice or first-time modders class and an unlimited class that you can participate in. Also, there's 2 big things going on in the Safety Razor Forum. The Razor of the Month will be the 40s Style Super Speed. Join Keen Dog for all the discussions on that. And then, yes, again, the Badger and Blade official bingo game will be starting this month sometime, actually May 8th. And yes, it's going to be called by one of your DE Forum stewards, I'm a Tabor. Now, look through some of the past B&B bingo threads, and you'll see how much fun this is really going to be. And here's a quick video on what you can expect. Well, that video, ladies and gentlemen, will give you a chance to see what you're in store for in the next B&B official bingo game starting on May 8th. And if you go into the DE Forum, which is a sub-forum of the Safety Razor Forum, you can sign up and get all the rules and regulations to get started. Now, this just in, Sharon and her crack research team has discovered some very interesting items about our moderator team. Sharon?
Well, you'll be interested to know that I have a psychic remote viewing research team, and they looked into things, and they found out that when Patrick Stewart was tapped to do Roadhouse.
Wait, Sharon, wait. Patrick Stewart? You mean Captain Jean-Luc Picard? Wasn't it Patrick Swayze that did it?
Patrick Swayze, someone's getting fired.
Okay.
Or a little extra work on the remote viewing thing. Anyways, Ford Father, the moderator Ford Father, was asked to be his understudy when Patrick Swayze was tapped to do the Roadhouse movie. I thought that was interesting.
Wow, that
they
is
asked
interesting.
him to show him the ropes.
Wow, interesting.
And one of the other things that the team came up with was on Toothpick. Did you know that he once had a polar bear fall on him?
Wow, a polar bear fall on him. And that's what's really interesting about a polar bear is in the southern states like Tennessee, you don't see very many polar bears. But
Vacation.
It could have been on vacation. Did you take him down there? Did you drop him off when you were on the way to the Bahamas after Christmas?
Absolutely.
That's what
he
I
must have
thought.
fallen right off. He would finished that Coke and needed another Coca-Cola.
Oh,
And
okay.
he's like, I'm out of here.
Well, we certainly hope that Toothpick is feeling better, and this may be the onus behind the reason why he grew that real huge, wondrous beard that he has. Maybe he was trying to protect himself. Probably, could
and
be.
Speaking of looks and characteristics, I did dig up something from Forefather who once said, "My stomach is so big, I haven't seen my belt buckle in years," which I find interesting because I never thought Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, I never saw Patrick Swayze with a beer belly.
Yeah, he must have really worked out for that role.
Wow, yeah, he must have.
Anyways, and if y'all want to get some more information on that, please feel free to contact them directly for some more in-depth discussion, and contact them if you'd like to talk about it a little further.
See, there's always interesting things going on around Badger and Blade, so stay tuned for more stuff, because it's obviously golden, golden, golden. Over in the Shave Soap forum, Chad, your forum steward, will also have the May theme of the month. Basically, the 1st through the 6th will be primary colors. This one was suggested to him, and it's changing it up a little bit, so we know what the primary colors are: red, blue, and yellow. With these 3 colors, you can make anything. So one day, go all red, then all blue, then all yellow. Make them your favorite colors for the next 3 days. The 7th through the 12th will be Smell the Flowers, so any of your floral-styled soaps would be great. The 13th through the 15th, the 13th, the 15th, and the 18th will be soap samples. This is backed by popular demand, so if you've got those little tiny pucks of sample soaps, please use them during this time. The 19th through the 24th will be Vintage Week, and then the 25th through the 31st will be cologne-inspired soaps. Now, if you noticed when I messed up that he left out the 14th. The 14th is Mother's Day, so he's going to give you 2 options for soaps on that one. First, use a soap that reminds you of your mom, or whoever played the motherly role in your life, have them pick out your entire shave of the day. So that'll be fun. So please sign up in that thread for the May soap theme of the month. In the mess hall, yes, that's right, it's the cookout time again, and May's cookout will be Southwestern and Mexican food. So check out the mess hall forum for all the details on that. In the dark room, the May contest, the May photo contest, will be standing out in a crowd. And April's winner was Trimbeard Steve. So congratulations to that. Check out the Darkroom Forum for all the details on that. We'd also like to welcome some new stewards to BadgerandBlade.com. We'd like to welcome Lane. His avatar is High Speed Lane in the darkroom. And Phil Sandstone, one of our long-term members here, is now the forum steward in the Newbie Check-In and Shave Clinic. Now, Professor Moriarty will also be taking over duties as steward in the Contributor Forum, as well as the Vapors. So check out the vendor forum for all of your shaving needs. We've got a wonderful bunch of forum vendors that have all the products that you'll need for your shave. We'll be right back right after this.
Guess who put their heads together in a shaving combination that saves you 60 cents? Persona stainless steel double-edged blades. And new Burma Shave. You first. You get not blades, but British processed Persona stainless for more comfortable shaves. Plus, new Burma Shave starts soaking action faster to soak rings around every other leading lather. Both for 98 cents. You save 60 cents. It's at your store. I'll race you.
Welcome back to B&B Radio's first anniversary extravaganza, and now we're going to do some mail call.
Okay, we're going to get right into this. I wanted to read a note from Clyde72. He says, "Wow, has it been a year already? How time flies." All kidding aside, Dave, you've done a fantastic job. I have a thought. Yes, it happens every now and again, every once in a while, wink, wink. How about an episode, or at least a segment, on how to take and improve on one's shave of the day pictures?
Oh, that's a great question, Craig. We'll do that. We'll have that scheduled for one of our future episodes on taking SOD pictures only with, also with DSLR or any actual camera, and how you can actually really enhance those pictures. We certainly appreciate that. Craig, thanks.
And next up, we have a message from SSKIM Skim. I'm not sure which one you go by, but it says, "Congrats, Dave. Maybe we can get Menudo to do a reunion for the anniversary. I am sure that Civargo and CB Lindsay could make this happen."
Well, as you guys know from our previous episode where we did the Bando Prosciutto thing, the Menudo Enigma always is around. Tom, thank you for the congrats. We appreciate it. And I doubt very seriously that Menudo will show themselves again here on B&B Radio.
You know, maybe if you get Menudo and Bando Prosciutto to do like a dual thing.
Yeah, but they don't like each other. They don't like each other.
Come
Let's
on,
move
get
on.
over it,
Let's
get
move
over
on.
it. So C. Vargo says, I really like the member, moderator, and steward interviews. It really humanizes the site. I would also like to see product spotlights, for instance. I know like a razor is usually showcased, and it would be nice if you could talk about it and give details or history on the item. This could be a quicker way to showcase the vendors too, make it shorter and sweeter, and maybe focus on our testimonials. As far as C. Vargo, his testimonial, he says, I love the radio broadcast. Every other week, I know that when I get into work, I can close the office door, grab some coffee, and just start the week off right. Love the broadcast. Can't wait to see what year 2 brings.
Well, thank you, Chad. We certainly appreciate it. And that's actually a fantastic idea. We'll start doing some research on that and have it up for some future shows. And we really, really appreciate you being a supporter of B&B Radio.
One of our newest subscribers and podcast listeners, Mark, says, I'd like to hear a discussion on the radio show about traveling restrictions, rules about the safety razors and products that are made specifically for air travel. It would also be noteworthy to include advice on how to mail and send your wet shaving gear to your destination so that when you arrive, it's already there. For instance, it's sometimes recommended that blades be sent separately and ahead of time when you travel. Well, why not all the gear? What courier service would get this done best and at what price? And I think that's a great idea, Mark, especially because I once traveled and I got all the way to Hong Kong before they absconded with my little dinky tweezers. And that's not even a straight edge.
Well, Mark, thank you so much, and welcome to Badger and Blade. We appreciate you subscribing to both the podcast and our YouTube page. We actually have a video on the TSA tips and tricks. If you go to the video library form, you can find it there. It was done by KJ, the Vez 2, and it goes over a lot of things because KJ travels quite a bit. And as far as mailing all your gear, it's one of those things where your mileage may vary, and you do need to be careful. But any of the major carriers, DHL, UPS, FedEx, can get things to your destination. And if you're planning on staying at a hotel, most of the major hotels have mail centers where when you check in, there'll be a note waiting for you right there. So, Mark, fantastic suggestions. We certainly do appreciate it.
Okay, CB Lindsay, and I know he's got some agendas on his mind, but he says, this is interesting. Since Badger and Blade has many long-running and some newer inside jokes, wink, wink, and references that a lot of regulars and certainly newcomers aren't clued into, it would be fun to have an occasional story about these such instances. Some legends are best left unexplained, but reviving and embellishing a few would be fun also. So to recap, expose a few, embellish the rest. There's enough embellishment, I think, already, but embellish the rest. I like the idea of product spotlights, not only from artists and vendors who make their stuff, but from vendors like Bull Goose, who have unique higher-end stuff. Product conversations are always a way. They're always a win-win because some people don't know about what is available. Good stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. We certainly appreciate it. You've become a very good friend to us on B&B Radio and to me personally. We have been looking into doing a concierge-type service where we will highlight certain products, whether that be hardware or software, and that should be coming up in the next few months. So thank you once again, Chris, for being a part of B&B Radio.
I'm a Tabor, says Dave. You're giving away an RX? I'm in. Your generosity shows no bounds. Congratulations on 1 year.
Well, Mr. Iva Tabor, we certainly appreciate that. And no, just to make that clear, no, B&B Radio nor myself is giving away an Asylum RX razor. However, they are fantastic, so you can always look at Bull Goose to find out more. But no, I am not giving mine away. Thank you, John.
Okay, and Garrett writes, I'm subscribed to the YouTube channel, but haven't had a chance to actually watch anything there. I did just subscribe to the podcast version through my favorite podcast application, but I've only had a chance to listen to a couple episodes. So far, I've enjoyed listening to the first couple. My only suggestion would be to keep them under 20 minutes. I enjoy listening to the old ads, but the music transitions, interludes don't do much for me. Question about the PIF, Pay It Forward, Treasure Hunt. Will we need to listen or watch the episode? Will you notify us when it's posted? I'd like to do things in order, so otherwise I wouldn't actually get the episode for a few weeks or months.
Well, thank you, Garrett, my fellow Arizonan here up on the Phoenix side of things. We certainly appreciate your suggestions, and we are going to attempt to do that because I know some of the shows have been, on the north side of an hour, and I know that's hard for people to listen to, especially on the podcast side. However, with all the content that we have, it's a little bit tough. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to limit the shows to be between 30 and 40 minutes tops. Now, that may be a little bit tough, so please bear with us while we do so. And as far as the PIF is concerned, basically, earlier in the show, we did mention how that will work. There will be 2 threads that will open up in the video library forum that will give instructions. We are going to run those PIFs for 2 full weeks, so that'll give ample time for people to actually watch the shows and so forth. So, Garrett, thank you so much for being a part of this. We certainly do appreciate your suggestions, and we will do our best to get those ready for you. As far as the music and the interludes, well, popularity really likes them, so we've got some new things planned, but we'll reveal those as we go further along. But thanks again, Garrett.
Okay, and for our last piece of mail, I think this one might actually need a committee, but Chattervetti writes, question about the show maybe. What are the metals that are being used today to manufacture razors, and how do they differentiate from each other in terms of weight, looks, price, maintenance, etc.?
Well, Chatterverdi, that's a fantastic, and welcome to B&B Radio and to Badger and Blade. Traditionally, the newer razors are made from Zamac, which is a mixture, and we'll go into more detail on this when we actually dedicate an episode to that. But you also have high-end stainless steel, medical stainless steel. There may be 1 or 2 brass makers out there. You have Bakelite, and believe it or not, some people are actually 3D printing razors now. But we'll go into the metallurgy and all that stuff. We'll have an expert on board for one of our shows, but we certainly appreciate that. And that wraps up our news and events. We're going to take a quick break, and right after that, our vendor spotlight interview with Ken from Paladin Shaving. See you in a minute.
High Karate's second fragrance, new Eastern spice. Just one whiff drives women wild. Its sultry oriental aroma makes men irresistible. That's why there's a special leaflet on self-defense in every pack. High Karate and High Karate Eastern Spice. Be careful how you use it.
Welcome back to B&B Radio, everybody, in our first anniversary extravaganza. And we're extremely proud to have as our vendor spotlight for this very special episode, Ken from Paladin Shaving. Ken, how are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
Well, Ken, tell us a little bit about yourself, your products, and what were the factors in you getting into the business?
Well, about me, I guess I'm an old guy. I became a grandfather last week.
Congratulations.
This is thank you, and this is very much a second chapter career for me at the age of 63. We established Dark Color Design Works and started making Paladin shaving brushes in August of 2014. It was in partnership with my son Cody, who now lives in Corvallis, Oregon. My wife and I are in Overland Park, Kansas. It's a suburb of Kansas City. My wife Pam has also become heavily involved in the business, and it's a full-time job now for us and his livelihood as well. our business largely reflects, at least at the outset, my passion for wet shaving, which I came into here on Badger and Blade. And this all developed in a very highly path-dependent manner. One thing led to another. There was really no foresight or plan at all in the beginning. If you'd like, I can try to give a very short kind of timeline of the story.
Sure, go right ahead.
It's a slippery slope on both sides, so pull me back if I start to go over the edge. So,
Will do.
Late in 2012, I've been collecting mostly British-made pre-war Gillettes for a year and had a pile of them, and I thought brushes were kind of silly. And I look in the brush forum from time to time, and it just seemed like a bunch of fetishes to me. But I was seduced in late 2012, and in I think it was, I don't know, November or December, I scored a Morrison 400 L7 directly from Lee Savini. And leaving a long bit of the story out, in January, I designed a handle in Adobe Illustrator that was a derivative of the L7. I like some things about it a lot, and others not so much.
Sure.
And about that time, I was invited to serve as a steward on Badger and Blade. I felt like I'd won the Nobel Prize, but I really didn't know what stewards did. But it turned out that one thing they do is they run group buys, and I thought, well, maybe I'll see if I can run a group buy based on this handle design, which I was just going to ask Lee if you'd make a couple brushes for me and my son. That happened, got it approved. It turned out to be an amazing experience. It sounds ridiculous, but in all candor, it was a life-changing experience for me. A lot of fun, made a lot of friends, and one of the friends was Lee, and that turned out to be important. Based on that, I wanted to design another handle, but I wanted to do it with the benefit of being able to make prototypes. It was one feature of what came to be known as the Chief, the group buy brush, that I would have changed had I been able to prototype it before I sent the final drawing to Lee. And so I started looking for a suitable lathe. A takeaway learning for me from the group buy was that Lee wasn't a craftsman, guy turning handles with a wood lathe. He actually had a precision engineer guy named Frank who ran CNC lathes. So in January of 14, I found what I thought would be a good lathe for the purpose, and Cody and I made a road trip first week of January in a snowstorm to La Crosse, Wisconsin to bring it back. We ended up bringing more than one. And then it sat in the entryway of our house for a while until I had time to fiddle with it. And when I did, I kind of became like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. I was down in the basement at 3 o'clock in the morning. F-bombs were rattling through the house. And I finally, in July, turned a handle out of acrylic, hand polished it, sent photos to Lee, and he was, I think, kind of blown away that I actually was able to do it. And that just coincidentally happened to be right after Frank, his guy, kind of retired, went off to make model steam engines or something. And a week or two later, Lee came back and asked if I thought I could make 100 handles in time for the holidays. And I didn't know, but I wasn't going to say no. And I said, yeah, I think so. And Cody my son had just graduated from KU in May with a degree in industrial design, and he was detailing cars for minimum wage. And I made a proposal to him that he helped me out with this project, and I would pay him what he was getting paid to detail cars, and he'd at least be doing something relevant to his career aspirations. And that's how it all started.
Wow.
And then one thing led to another after that there was really no intention to start to make a business out of it. But bringing him into it kind of changed that, because he committed to me. I owed him a reciprocal commitment, and then that commitment ended up resulting in a very significant of my retirement savings into building a shop. And once you got that in, you're kind of all in, and it became a business really kind of out of necessity. And it's also a vehicle for doing what we want to do, but it's really not what it's about.
Sure. Well, I remember because I think I had just become a member right around that same time that group buy occurred. And I remember the buzz surrounding all of that. And, with that, Ken, in this competitive market, what business practices have you set into place to position yourself at or near the top of the brush making business? Because quite honestly, Paladin has really set, in my opinion, although it may be biased, but I think that it has set the brush world on fire, to be quite honest with you, with the quality that you have. So tell us a little bit about that in the competitive marketplace and the business practices that you've set up.
Yeah, well, for one thing, I think my son and I are both OCD perfectionists, and that probably.
Sure.
But we're really nowhere near the top in terms of output, certainly. But I do think the brushes we make are about as good as any, at least in many respects. I knew you were going to ask this question, and it deserves, and I want to give a thoughtful response. I came up with 10 attributes or factors that I believe in combination make us unique. I'd like to run through them quickly. It might sound a little scripted because I made some notes to follow, but I don't want to blow this opportunity to lay it out.
No, please do.
Numbers here, right? So if it's okay, I think like 5 or 6 minutes to do that.
Absolutely. This is your show.
Okay. Well, first, we're designer makers, and we have a highly specific product focus. Our stated purpose is front and center on our website is to create and offer to the brush shaping community products of the kind and quality we want for ourselves, and that's really how we set the bar. It's reflected in all of our choices and in everything we do. We don't take an amateur approach to anything, and we don't make compromises for the sake of saving cost or time in production. We are, I think, in the purest sense, product-driven, and that's very different than being marketing or sales-driven. Second, the designs. We very painstakingly develop the designs using professional CAD software. We don't, again, hand-turn. Cody and I do all of that work ourselves. Nothing is farmed out or assigned to an employee who might have no real personal interest in the project other than a paycheck. We operate with a very tightly closed loop that connects initial concept to design to iterative prototyping and finally to production. Third, and this is key, to the best of my knowledge, there is no other individual or company in the world that has put together a shop quite like ours. I'm pretty sure we're uniquely positioned between the hobby shops, which typically utilize manually operated wood lathes, and the large manufacturers that pursue economies of scale by use of high-capacity industrial factory-type machines. I have great respect and admiration for those who turn stuff by hand, but we have no interest in doing that ourselves. What we care about is high-fidelity execution of our designs. The CNC or computer numeric controlled lathes we use make that possible. We can control tolerances to within 5/10,000 of an inch.
Wow!
But we work with relatively small benchtop lathes that allow very hands-on operation. For example, we do all tool changes by hand on the fly. I do a lot of coding on the fly. Our lathes are also very nimble and well-suited to turning small batches of handles made up of individually cut work pieces. So our shop is really set up to run more like a PT boat than an aircraft carrier, and that makes a big difference. The trade-off, however, is that we operate with very limited capacity. We can probably make more brushes in a month than most one-man shops, but that's simply because there are 3 of us working at it. I'm pretty sure I don't churn out handles any faster. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes me longer. Fourth, we do all finish work by hand. Early on, we invested a few $1,000s in vibratory tumblers that yielded good results, but not good enough to satisfy us, so we mothballed the barrels. I believe the quality of finish we produce, Cody produces by hand, is unsurpassed. Fifth, we went all out on engraving. And again, that was Cody's advocacy. It was a pretty significant investment, but I think the results he achieves in that department are in a class of their own. He worked with lasers a lot in college, and he taught me into spending about 5 times as much money on a laser as I had in mind. Sixth, and there's a long story here, but I'll make it short. I've put more time and effort into sourcing high-quality anti-NOx directly from China than I could credibly describe, but
Sure.
it has been both necessary and worthwhile. One of the owners of our principal supplier from China visited us in Kansas for 2 days last October. I had over 50 knots set out on index cards with notes pointing out what I liked or didn't like about each one. We spent several hours examining and discussing all of them. He took copious notes of his own. It was a very productive exercise that contributed importantly to better mutual understanding, and that's an ongoing it's an ongoing effort. Our agreement now is that one, a single skilled worker who understands our special requirements will make all of our knots. More careful inspection has also been arranged to ensure consistent quality. These measures result in higher prices to us, which I actually proposed quite a while back, and for some reason they were resistant. But I understand that desired results have to be tied to rewards, otherwise nothing changes. It's
Absolutely, sure.
Not for very long. So, seventh, setting knots properly is a very big deal for us. I was a brush fanatic first and foremost, well before I ever thought about making one. I see photos almost every day of brushes with knots that just don't look right to me. We're as meticulous about setting knots as we are about designing, making, finishing, and engraving handles. Eighth, we provide more information about the knots in our brushes and how they're set than either maker I know of. We carefully measure and record both overall loft and free loft height above the glue for every brush we offer, and we also associate knots by code to dated batches and post notes about. This comes back to offering products of the kind and quality we want for ourselves. For me, the information we make available is an important part of the product. I don't know if that's really caught on with many others, but I think it will in time, and in any case, we're not going to quit. Ninth, we work hard to offer variety in both handle designs and materials. We just recently introduced 6 new shapes, and we have 3 new handle materials in the works with our supplier in England. And 10th, finally, the Paladin Shaving Shop, brush shop on our website is, again, as far as I know, like no other. We put a lot of thought and effort into it. The overarching objective was to offer an online experience that would come as close as we could make it to selecting a brush from a shelf in a store. So we put up front and back photos of each individual brush we offer for sale, along with its specifications, knot code, and serial number. Unfortunately, demand has run ahead of our capacity to produce brushes, with the result that releases over the past few months have been like Black Friday sales at Best Buy, but I'm confident we'll work through that, and our customers have been very patient. So that's it. Thanks for letting me get through that, and I'll hand it.
Well, I'll tell you, Ken, two points that I would make right off the bat is, being a business owner myself, I understand that, the supply versus demand, and, you try to balance that, but at the same time, if you overbalance one side of it, you end up suffering on the quality side. If you balance it on the other side, now you become an assembly line. And the one thing that I think stands out with your brushes is the fact that they are, for lack of a better term, works of art. And I think that they've gained the elite status, whether causative or non-causative, by the fact that you do have those sales. So people do have to prepare. But the cool thing is the releases that you come out with, you always have a pre-release notification. So people can actually go and look at exactly what they want, exactly what they can get. So when it comes time, boom, they go in, they get what they want. And the one thing that I've noticed, being a brush owner of a few of your brushes, is that exactly what's on that picture is exactly what you end up getting. And I will make one note to the members that may not have a Paladin brush, is when you're drying your brush off, and you and I have had this conversation, make sure your hands are dry, because one of two things is going to happen. You're going to fling the brush across the bathroom, and it's going to crack the tile in your shower. Or if you drop it on your foot, you're going to end up going to the emergency room. These brushes are stout, and that to me, because when I look at brushes, I don't. As stupid as it sounds, I don't look at cost. I look at the quality that goes along with it, and the engraving and the little tiny details are what to me makes the Paladin line just incredible. And so with that being said, what determines how you choose the styles and the knot configurations, meaning whether it be fan or bulb, or do you try to offer a wide selection of that?
You know, at the most basic level, it goes back to what I said at the start. And not that this is about me, but I'm motivated to make stuff I like. And I'm very grounded in tradition. I'm an old guy. I fell in love with the Simpson handles. I collected them. I love the Roonies. I really have reverence for a lot of those shapes, and they themselves, for the most part, are derivatives too. You can go back and ironically find rubber set predecessors to many of those shapes. But it stands to reason because we're turning them on fairly simple lathes. There are only so many shapes that really work well in hand, and you work with those elements, and then it comes down to subtlety. So what I like to do is I like to study handles and sometimes combinations of handles, and it's kind of like the blues. I mean, there's a tradition out there that's in the water that you drink from it, and then you try to make it your own, and that's what I do. Cody came into this, and he hadn't been marinating in old brushes. He wanted to make edgy stuff that, when I looked at his first drawing, I didn't want to hurt his feelings. It's just, no, but one of them was the Lotus. And he finally badgered me into doing the post-processing for that. He'd done a CAD drawing. And I made a couple of suggestions, fairly minor ones, to adapt it ergonomically, and there were also a couple of minor ones to make it come off the machine right. That went through 14 iterative prototypes.
Wow.
Until we got it right. And that mostly had to do with matching the tool paths, because the tools were running the lines, so that what we saw and what we wanted was what we got. But that's a wonderful handle, and it's, in my opinion, it's completely novel. It doesn't reflect anything except the shape of the hand and functionality. And I frankly couldn't do that. I don't have it in me. I'm too influenced by what I've been exposed to.
Sure.
It's different. As far as knots, I have nothing against Silvertip, 3-band, other stuff. I respect, although I don't use synthetics, but we can't make that many handles, and we have more permutations right now that we can keep track of, and there will be more. Not that we really need more styles, but we get bored, so we keep creating stuff. And I have a strong bias for 2-band hair that has particular characteristics, and that's right now what we're trying to nail down. As far as semi-bulbs and fans, I think we've been ordering, I do that, 20%, 25% fans.
Sure.
There's no site. It's impossible for us to do analytics on what we sell because it sells out, so we can't.
Sure.
We really can't evaluate demand because everything sells because we can't make more. But,
well, I think when you're talking about, everything sells so fast and doing the metrics, for lack of a better term, in determining what people really like, I think that, because you were the first one that convinced me, back in the early days, to try a fan knot. I had never even considered trying a fan knot. And now I find myself, when I look at other brushes, because I'm a brush fanatic and collector now, and I think I've got somewhere in the 35 to 40 range now as far as brushes. But I find that I really enjoy the fan knot. So so I think that when people are willing to try, because maybe like you said that that people will go on to your sale, and one of the brushes that they may have wanted in a bulb knot is now only available in fan, and rather than missing out on the beautiful handle, they say, well, I'll try a fan knot. Boom, what you've done is you've actually created a fan of fan knots. So so I think the synergy, even though there's some negatives with what you're saying about supply and demand, I think the synergy of actually creating interest has been a byproduct of that, in a lot of ways. And with that being said, what changes have you seen since being a member, then a steward, and now having Paladin Shave? What changes have you seen in the traditional shaving marketplace in the last few years?
Well, ironically, the more I've become absorbed in our brush making venture, the less I've paid attention to what else is going on in the traditional shaving marketplace. I don't have time to keep up with anything. It's not that I'm disinterested in what others are doing. It just isn't really what drives us, and what we're trying to do is very consuming. Of course, it hasn't escaped my nose that there are a lot of other brush makers out there.
Sure.
And there are more razor makers, lots of soap makers, and it's all good. I'm not looking over my shoulder. I think we've done, like I said, put together something that's fairly unique, and we're driven by making stuff we like, and then but if we put it in the closet, that wouldn't be very satisfying. So at the end of the day, it's important to us to have these things be owned and used and appreciated. But what a particular brush signifies to anybody, it's up to that individual.
Sure.
The other thing I think it's happened in the marketplace on the buy side or user side is fragmentation of the venues. When I came in, there was Badger and Blade and some others, but I tend to be very loyal, and I was all Badger and Blade. And TSN was coming on, and I was a steward, and I stuck with Badger and Blade. Now, I don't know how many on Facebook. It's countless. There's Reddit out there. There are news forums springing up all the time. It's probably a good thing. It reflects a broadening interest, and it gives people more homes to sort of match themselves to. On the other hand, I find it a little frustrating sometimes because I can't keep track of all of it, and I had a concern for a while that it was going to dilute
Sure.
the established boards, which are really incredible repositories of information, but that doesn't appear to have happened. Badger and Blade is still growing leaps and bounds. So it's all good, right?
Well, I think it is, and I think something you mentioned during that really stuck to me was the fact that you said that you didn't have time. Now, to look at the other, to do the market research and stuff like that, and at first glance, somebody would say, well, wait a minute, how do you run a successful business if you don't know what your competitors are doing? But my argument to that would be, well, but if I have a sole focus on exactly what I'm doing and not really, for lack of a better term, giving a rat's patoot what somebody else is doing, then I can focus solely on what I'm doing, and I think it shows in the end product. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
Now let me ask you one quick follow-up question real quick, and it's something I should have asked in the beginning. How did the name, because I remember Design Holler, or Dark Holler rather, how did Paladin come about?
Well, I'll answer a question you'd ask. Dark Holler came about because I'm a banjo picker, and I love old mountain music. And
okay, let me break in real quick there, Ken. For those of you that know me on Badge and Blade, you also know that I'm a banjo player, and you and I will have to talk off post because this could get into a whole nother thing. Go ahead. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, well, I bought the domain back in the 90s. I think I bought Dark Holler and some Dark Hollow, and I had that, and I thought, well, I'd like to use just the name for something, and that's So we made it dark hollow design work. Paladin shaving cropped up when Lee asked us to do the first one, the first batch of 100. And I wanted to have a brand for those, and dark hollow didn't really kind of fit us to shop. And I was thinking of words, and a long time ago I was a lawyer. I remember in-house with a biotech company, and I remember another lawyer from the Bay Area that I was working with referred to someone as a paladin. Well, I remember the TV show from the late 50s. I was around. I used to watch it, and I had Gun Will Travel.
Yep.
But I didn't know what the symbolism was, and I was moved to look it up when this guy used it, because I didn't know what he meant. And it means in modern parlance a champion, but it comes from, and it's the symbolism of the Western, the paladins, the peers of Charlemagne's court, who were actually the precursors of the Knights of the Round Table. And so paladin in the Western was always a champion for the underdog, and it seemed to fit because we're the cause is wet shape, and I don't know. It's just when I came across that word, I just knew it was right, and it just surfaced in my head through kind of a process of free lateral association. But that's the story.
Well, the funny thing is, it really, when you think about it, it can cross generations, because you and I are, close to the same age, and I remember Have Gun Will Travel, and then other people will remember, like you said, the historic Knights, and then the newer folks, or people like me that are also science fiction nuts, will remember a cult classic that actually became a video game years and years later, where one of the main avatars and the hero of the film, and like you said, an underdog, his code sign was Paladin. And so I remember these things, and to me it's just wonderful. Now let me ask you this, Ken. As a member, how has Badger and Blade and its members been a factor in your business?
Well, first I'd say, there's this old saw, I can't remember where it came from. First time I heard it was in law school. It's for one of the horseshoe nail.
Sure.
And I don't remember it, but it has to do, for one of the message battles lost for one of the, it all came down to horseshoe nail, it was used to exemplify the concept of but for causation. So, but for Badger and Blade, there would be no dark color design or paladin shaving. I never would have fallen into the paladin shaving. To the wet shaving rabbit hole, certainly not the brush rabbit hole. I came across Badger and Blade. It's an interesting but impertinent story for right now, but I stumbled onto it, and it changed everything. So I learned, so I became interested in razors, and I became involved in Badger and Blade through first asking a lot of questions, and then after I owned about 60 of the things, I learned something. I started trying to answer a few questions, and then I got involved in brushes. It was key that year I had left my last full-time gig in 2012, completely burned out. I've been commuting to a job out of state for 4.5 years, and decided to take a year off. And some people, when they take sabbaticals, write books or do things like that. I posted on Badger and Blade and did it goodbye. That was my sabbatical project.
Sure.
I think I probably drove some people crazy. I encourage younger members to try to. Everybody comes in and has to ask their questions, and to old guys like me, it starts to have a sameness, and we peel off and go do other things and pop in from time to time. That's as it should be. We need to make room for the new people.
Sure.
But I would encourage the younger members to sometimes, if you have an interest, use Google searches, use whatever. I think maybe searching functionality on the site is better now than it used to be. But there is just some incredible treasure troves of information from the early days of Badger and Blade, from around the time I came in. And I'd like to see that surface more often. Maybe it does because I'm not paying attention. But
Sure.
Badger Blade is the reason I got into this, and it's how I learned. It's completely how I learned. And the community is just incredible. And I still have friends from the group buy that pop me emails on Christmas Eve and post in that thread.
Sure.
It's virtual, but for me, it's very substantive.
Well, it's funny, through the one common denominator that I see with most of these interviews, whether it be the vendor spotlight, the steward spotlight, or the vendor spotlight, is that everybody agrees that there is a community and there's for lack of a better term, a karma that occurs on Badger and Blade that is unlike. And I know many people, and they admit it, that they've got closer friends on Badger and Blade and they've never even actually shaken this person's hand than they feel that they have with some of the other people. And that's what I think is unique about it. And just a reminder to the Badger and Blade members, don't forget that we have our vendor stores here on badgerandblade.com. Ken has his own store there. There's lots of great information there, and I suggest that you go there and take a look at everything that's there. You'll see collections of members' brushes and everything else. So, Ken, as we finish up tonight, is there anything you'd like to say in closing to the members, or any final thoughts you have about Badger and Blade?
Well, first, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's really terrific. I've been busy and absorbed, and the fact is, vendors can't post as comfortably. Certainly, I can't in the shaving brushes forum, which is my principal interest, as I used to, and I completely understand and accept that. But it's nice to find ways to engage with the community, and I hope members will come visit me and in our vendor store more often, not because I want to sell you something, but just because it's fun to talk about this stuff. The other thing I'd say is the other thing that's on our site front and center is our mission, which is to elevate the experience our customers derive from shaving. I want to make the point that I personally don't believe you have to have a $150 or even $100 or even a $50 brush to have a good shave and a great experience. For me, as I progressed, there were some tools that when I used them, they just elevated the experience. Maybe you're happier if that doesn't happen, but I'm a brush fanatic. I'm discriminating, but I'm by no means a brush snob. And I enjoy talking about this stuff to people, whether they're not interested and whether or not they're interested in buying a brush from us. So, we sell expensive brushes. Largely, it reflects how much we put into them, and we really can't charge less and have it make sense. But that's not because we think you can't get a good shave with a far less expensive brush.
Sure. No, I understand that. Well, Ken, joining us for our first anniversary show, I can't believe it's been a year, but I was very, for lack of a better term, I was very specific on who I wanted on the show, and you have been such a great member, such a great vendor here on badgerandblade.com that your name rose to the top of the list. So I want to thank you for spending your evening with us and spending this time with us. It's an honor for me to have you on the show and for you to be as candid and as explanatory, because a lot of times with the vendors, there's some interaction, but not this type of venue where you can really just have the segment to yourself. So on behalf of Badger and Blade Radio, I'd really like to thank you for being with us tonight.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
You reminded me. Yeah, you reminded me. So anniversary, it's May 1st, right?
Yes.
May 1st also happens to be the 50th anniversary of the release of Jimi Hendrix and the Experience's first single, "Hey Joe."
Oh, okay.
The 12th, which is coming up, is the 50th anniversary of the release of the album. And I think we're gonna do some kind of a contest around that. We've got 4 Kansas City, London Purple Haze brushes that we've had in private stock that I think we're gonna cast into the wind one way or another. Cody's working it out. We haven't quite worked out the rules yet, but keep your eyes out for notices of something along those lines. I think we're gonna turn those brushes loose in conjunction with those anniversaries.
Well, that's a fantastic way to do that. That's awesome. And I know when some of our, and pardon me for saying this, our Paladin groupies, of which I'm one, hear that, they're going to be chomping at the bit, which is a good thing. But once again, Ken, thank you so much for this evening. It's absolutely been a pleasure having this conversation with you. And please give the rest of your family, I was going to say staff, but it's family, give them our best and thank them for what they do each and every day, because the product that you put out is just stupendous.
Thanks, David.
Good night. Well, this brings another episode of Badger and Blade Radio to a close. Thank you for joining us sincerely for our first anniversary show. We really appreciate it each and every day, and we appreciate all the listeners and watchers of our YouTube page and our podcast feeds. Just a quick reminder on the piffs that we're doing for the 3 Badger and Blade Essential Bore Brushes. These are the gold leaf flaked ones. Please make sure that you check out the video library for them, as there will be 2 threads, one for these brushes where we'll have 3 separate winners, and then one for the movie piff that we'll be giving. So please make sure to get in there. Hopefully you've watched the show carefully, because the questions will be there. Now, if we have multiple people that have the right answers, we will draw those at random. So as always, we'd like to thank the owners and the admins for bringing us Badger and Blade, this oasis of traditional shaving on the internet. We'd also like to thank the mods and the stewards for all the hard work they do each and every day. And most importantly, we'd like to thank you, the member. You are the lifeblood of BadgerandBlade.com, and we appreciate your patronage each and every day. On a personal note, I'd like to thank everyone from the journal cadres throughout the entire forum for your support of B&B Radio through this last year. It's been tough at times, but I also need to put a special shout out to Toothpick Jason. He has been an extreme help during the idea phase of this and as we put it into actual production. And then also I would like to thank Sharon, my co-host for tonight and my life partner forever. She has been an integral part of this show in putting up with what I have to do, and as well as all of her different acting gigs that I've given her. And so, Sharon, thank you so much for being here tonight as well.
Thank you, Dave. And what do you mean giving me? You've never asked me to be part of this show. I mean, you never had to ask me or anything like that.
So you're saying you've been drafted?
I have been threatened. I have been told that I need to sleep sometime, and so I better join in or, start making the will out.
That is untrue, and you know it.
Yeah, I'm drafted.
Well, thanks again for being with us, Sharon, throughout all the shows. We certainly appreciate it. And it must be noted, folks, that I don't give her a script. I kind of
throws everything at me. But I do want to thank you all for inviting me into your life and letting me spend a little bit of time trying to play and become a little bit more good at this like David is, because for me it's a search for words every time. But thank you. And
basically
thank you,
what she's saying, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm a big mouth, which, okay, guilty as charged. Well, once again, on behalf of everyone here at BadgerandBlade.com, we certainly appreciate you listening. We've got a great year coming up. We appreciate your support. Tell your friends. And I've been your host, Skyside, and join us for our next episode of Badger and Blade Radio on May 15th.
Bye.
Take care.